Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time you've sent in a really fascinating collection of articles.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's interested in what we might call like powerhouse foods, the ones that really pack a punch.
Totally. And our mission today is to sift through all this research and pull out the most interesting and useful bits for you.
Exactly. Sort of like, a cheat sheet to understanding these powerful foods without having to read through pages and pages yourself.
Right, exactly. We do the heavy lifting so you don't have to.
It's really remarkable, how scientists are increasingly zeroing in on these everyday foods
Mm-hmm.
and finding all these naturally occurring compounds that really seem to offer like genuine protection against all kinds of health problems.
That's so cool. Okay, so let's dive right in. And we can actually start with something that a lot of you probably have in your kitchens right now, the tomato.
Oh yeah, the humble tomato.
But after this deep dive, you might never look at a tomato the same way again.
That's probably true. One of the things that really jumps out from these articles is this link between eating tomatoes, especially cooked tomatoes with a little bit of olive oil,
Okay.
and a reduced risk of prostate cancer, and potentially some other cancers of the digestive system.
Wow, so really powerful stuff. And there's a particular compound that seems to be responsible for these benefits, lycopene.
Right. Lycopene is a potent antioxidant. One of the things that antioxidants do is they neutralize these unstable molecules called free radicals.
Free radicals.
Yeah, which can damage cells and basically cause all sorts of problems.
Got it.
And lycopene specifically belongs to this family of compounds called carotenoids. And those are the pigments that give a lot of fruits and vegetables their bright colors.
So that's what makes tomatoes red.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. All right, well, let's move on from the red powerhouse to another familiar ingredient, spinach. I mean, probably most people think of Popeye and instant muscle growth.
Oh, of course, the classic image. But there's so much more to spinach than just, cartoon strength.
Yeah, like what specifically makes spinach so good for us?
Well, for one, it's what we call nutrient dense, meaning you get a lot of bang for your buck, calorie-wise. Like a cup of spinach is only 41 calories.
Wow, that's amazing.
But it's loaded with vitamins, minerals, and these beneficial plant compounds.
Those phytochemicals that we keep talking about.
Exactly.
So what are some of the standouts in spinach?
Well, one is folate. It's a B vitamin that's really important for preventing neural tube defects during pregnancy.
Right.
But it may also play a role in protecting against heart disease, stroke, and even some forms of vision loss.
Wow.
Then there's lutein and zeaxanthin, which are also carotenoids. And those seem to specifically protect the macula in your eye.
The macula.
It's this part of your retina that's responsible for sharp central vision. So these compounds can help ward off macular degeneration, which is a leading cause of vision loss as we age.
So spinach is good for your eyes.
It seems so. And it does it by actually filtering out these damaging high-energy light waves. Pretty amazing, right?
It really is. And of course, just like tomatoes, spinach has all those antioxidant properties as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks to those carotenoids, it's really good at scavenging those free radicals we talked about.
Right.
And it's also a good source of vitamin K, which is important for blood clotting.
Got it.
Oh, and here's a quick tip. If you cook spinach and add a little bit of olive oil, it actually helps your body absorb the beta-carotene more effectively.
Oh, really? I had no idea. Okay, that's a great tip. So we've talked about leafy greens. Let's switch to something a bit more, well, substantial. Nuts. Now, some people might worry about, nuts being high in fat.
Yeah, that's a common concern. People might think that nuts are just going to, make them gain weight or feel sluggish.
Right.
But it turns out that nuts are actually a really valuable part of a healthy diet. It's all about moderation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to remember that we're talking about healthy fats here, mainly unsaturated fats. And these fats have actually been shown to potentially lower harmful triglycerides and LDL cholesterol.
Which is the bad cholesterol.
Exactly. The one that can contribute to plaque buildup in your arteries.
Right.
And some studies have even shown that they can raise HDL cholesterol.
That's the good cholesterol.
Exactly.
So it's not just about avoiding all fats, it's about choosing the right fats.
Exactly. And we're not just talking about, one specific type of nut here. We're talking almonds, walnuts, pecans. They all have slightly different nutritional profiles, but they're all beneficial in their own way.
Interesting.
And some nuts, like walnuts, are particularly high in antioxidants called polyphenols.
Okay. And the research is pretty clear about the benefits of nuts, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence linking regular consumption of nuts to a lower risk of heart disease.
That's great to know.
And some nuts even contain alpha-linolenic acid.
Alpha-linolenic acid.
Yeah, it's a type of omega-3 fatty acid.
Okay, so nuts are good for you, but what's the right amount to eat?
Well, most experts recommend a small handful a few times a week.
A small handful. Okay, I can do that. All right, let's move on to a topic that I think sometimes sparks a bit of debate. Red wine. We've all heard about this thing called the French paradox, this idea that the French have a diet rich in butter and cheese, but still have relatively low rates of heart disease.
Right, the French paradox. And red wine is often mentioned as one possible explanation for this.
So is it true? Is red wine good for you?
Well, the research is still ongoing, but there's definitely some evidence to suggest that it could have some health benefits.
Okay.
And again, it comes back to those antioxidants. It seems that the antioxidants found in the skins of the grapes used to make red wine.
So it's not just any wine, it has to be red wine.
Right. Red wine has a much higher concentration of these beneficial compounds.
Got it. So, does this mean that we should all start drinking a bottle of red wine every night?
No, absolutely not. The key here, as with most things, is moderation.
Moderation.
Yeah, the sources we looked at were pretty clear about that. A little bit of wine, but not too much, may be beneficial for your heart.
So maybe a glass a day with dinner?
Something like that, but again, it's always best to talk to your doctor about what's right for you.
All right, sound advice. Okay, let's tackle a vegetable that might bring back some not-so-fond childhood memories. Broccoli. But it sounds like this often dreaded veggie deserves a serious reevaluation.
Oh, absolutely. Broccoli is a nutritional powerhouse. It's packed with those beneficial phytochemicals we keep talking about,
Okay.
including these compounds called glucosinolates. And what's interesting about these is that they can be broken down in your body into other compounds that might actually help to neutralize or even eliminate cancer-causing agents.
Wow, that's incredible. And are there any specific compounds in broccoli that we should know about?
Yeah, two that get a lot of attention are sulforaphane and indole-3-carbinol. And these have both shown potential in fighting cancer in laboratory studies.
Interesting.
And besides those, broccoli is also packed with beta-carotene and a surprisingly high amount of vitamin C. Actually, it has more vitamin C than an orange.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, pretty impressive. And of course, let's not forget about the fiber. Broccoli is a good source of fiber, which is important for digestion and helps you feel full.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on from the land to the sea and talk about salmon. Salmon is frequently touted as a healthy choice, and it sounds like the science backs that up.
Oh, definitely. Salmon is a great way to get beneficial fats into your diet. It's particularly rich in omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA.
EPA and DHA.
Yeah, these are the ones that have been shown to have really significant benefits for heart health. They can help prevent blood platelets from sticking together, which reduces the risk of blood clots. They can also help lower levels of triglycerides and that bad LDL cholesterol we talked about earlier.
So kind of similar benefits to nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Both nuts and salmon are excellent sources of these heart-healthy fats.
And the benefits of omega-3s go beyond just the heart, right?
Oh, absolutely. Research suggests that these fatty acids can also play a role in reducing inflammation throughout the body, which is linked to all sorts of chronic conditions like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus.
Wow.
And they're also crucial for the structure and function of brain cells, and may even help with things like memory and cognitive function.
That's amazing. So it's good for your heart, it's good for your brain. It's like a superfood.
Pretty much. And it's not just salmon. Other fatty fish like herring, mackerel, and bluefin tuna are also excellent sources of these omega-3s.
So we should be eating more fish.
In moderation, of course. But yeah, incorporating fatty fish into your diet a couple of times a week could be really beneficial.
All right, great. Now let's move on to something that a lot of you probably have for breakfast. Oats. Sometimes fiber gets kind of a bad rap for being, well, bland, but the fiber in oats seems to have some really special properties.
Yeah, you're right. The soluble fiber found in oats is particularly noteworthy. It's been shown to be very effective in helping lower cholesterol levels.
Okay.
And it also contributes to that feeling of fullness and satiety after you eat them, which can be helpful if you're trying to manage your weight.
Makes sense.
And what's really interesting is that regular consumption of oats, whether you have them as porridge or you add them to your granola, has been linked to potentially helping lower blood pressure in people with hypertension.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's not just about cholesterol. It can also have a positive impact on blood pressure.
That's great. And it's not just about the fiber content, right?
No, oats also contain beneficial antioxidants, some of which have similar properties to vitamin E, and they provide this really nice sustained release of energy because of the combination of dietary fiber and protein.
Okay, so oats are kind of a triple threat. They've got fiber, antioxidants, and protein.
Exactly. They're a really well-rounded breakfast option.
All right, let's talk about an ingredient that's known for its rather distinctive aroma, garlic. It's definitely got a strong smell and taste, but it sounds like there are some pretty significant health benefits hiding within those cloves.
Oh, for sure. Garlic's unique properties come from its sulfur-based compounds.
Sulfur-based compound.
Yeah, and the most notable one is called allicin.
Allicin.
Right. And this allicin is largely responsible for garlic's health-promoting effects. Research suggests that it could be beneficial for heart health. helping to reduce both cholesterol levels and blood pressure.
Okay.
It also has antibacterial and antifungal properties.
So it can help fight off infections.
Exactly. There's even some preliminary evidence to suggest that garlic might have a role in suppressing the parasites that cause malaria.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But it's important to remember that to really release that allicin compound, you need to crush or mince raw garlic.
So don't just swallow a clove whole.
Probably not the best idea. And it's also worth noting that raw garlic can cause some digestive upset for some people.
Okay, good to know. All right, let's shift gears to a beverage that has been enjoyed for centuries across many cultures. Green tea. It's often associated with Asian traditions, and it sounds like the health benefits are pretty impressive.
Yeah, green tea is incredibly rich in polyphenols, particularly a type called catechins. And these are really potent antioxidants and have significant anti-inflammatory properties.
Catechins.
Right? And studies have suggested that they might be protective against heart disease and even some types of cancer, including esophageal, stomach, and skin cancers, although more research is always needed, especially in humans.
Right.
But one study conducted in Japan found that drinking around 10 cups of green tea a day was linked to a reduced risk of developing certain types of cancer.
10 cups, that seems like a lot of tea.
It is quite a bit, and it's important to note that that was just one study.
Right.
But it does suggest that there might be some real benefits to drinking green tea regularly. And green tea is also being investigated for its potential benefits for oral health. It's been used as a mouthwash and has shown some ability to inhibit the growth of bacteria that can cause cavities.
Okay, so it's good for your teeth, too.
Potentially. All right, let's move on to some little berries that are packed with flavor and nutrients. Blueberries are often called pint-sized power jewels, and it sounds like they really live up to that name.
Yeah, blueberries consistently rank high in terms of antioxidant content.
Yeah, they have more antioxidants than almost any other fruit or vegetable. And the key compounds here are anthocyanins. Those are the phytochemicals that give them that beautiful blue color.
Anthocyanins.
Right, and these have been linked to potentially playing a role in fighting both heart disease and cancer.
So similar benefits to lycopene in tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly. Both lycopene and anthocyanins are powerful antioxidants that may offer protection against chronic diseases.
And I remember reading something about blueberries having potential benefits for brain function.
Oh yeah, there's been some interesting research in that area. Animal studies have suggested that regular blueberry consumption can have positive effects on balance, coordination, and even short-term memory.
Wow, that's really promising.
Yeah, and some research suggests that blueberries might even help prevent E. coli urinary tract infections by interfering with the bacteria's ability to attach to the walls of the bladder.
So they're good for your brain, your heart, and even your bladder.
It seems so. Blueberries really are little nutritional powerhouses.
All right, finally, let's discuss a food that I think sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap, potatoes. But it sounds like they have more to offer than we often give them credit for.
Oh, definitely. Potatoes are often unfairly vilified. In reality, they're filled with essential nutrients like vitamin C, potassium, and fiber, especially if you leave the skin on.
Okay.
And their complex carbohydrates provide a good, sustained source of energy.
Right. But what about the concerns about blood sugar levels?
Well, those concerns are usually more relevant when we're talking about large portions of white potatoes, especially when they're consumed frequently by people who are less physically active.
So it's really about portion control and how they're prepared.
Exactly.
Got it.
And potatoes also contain something called resistant starch.
Resistant starch.
Yeah, which actually functions in the body like fiber.
Okay.
And if you're looking for even more variety and maybe a slightly different nutritional profile, sweet potatoes offer similar benefits and can be a great addition to your diet as well.
All right, so after taking this deep dive into all these sources, what's the main takeaway here for our listeners?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that there's this incredible diversity of really accessible, readily available foods that contain incredibly powerful natural compounds. We're not talking about some exotic, hard-to-find ingredients. These are everyday staples that can really make a difference in your long-term preventative health.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And hopefully this deep dive has given you a more streamlined way to understand some of the, really compelling potential benefits that are highlighted in all this research that we've been exploring.
Absolutely. And this brings up a really important question for all of you listening. Considering the vast array of benefits that we've talked about today, what's one small, realistic change that you can make to your diet to start harnessing the power of these health-boosting foods? Sometimes it's those small, consistent adjustments that really make the biggest difference over time.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. And be sure to tune in next time for another fascinating exploration of your health and wellness.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.